Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you, as always, so much for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well and that you're ready for some twists, because that's what we're going to be working on today. Not necessarily the sort of twists that we're used to doing, although there will be some of those as well. Yeah, just playing around with different variations. Let's start lying down, because let's face it, who doesn't want to start lying down on their backs? Although if you don't want to, you don't have to. Otherwise, join me. You could be flat on your back, your knees could be bent or straight. You might have soles of the feet wide and the knees together, or the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. You could even be on your side if you wish. And then if you're on your back, take a little loop of your shoulder blades just up onto the back a little bit more so the chest opens. I really like flipping my palms up to the sky. I find that helps me keep open through the chest. But you could also have your hands on your belly if you wish. Just go wherever feels comfortable for you. And then for a few breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. And then continue breathing however you need to. Could be in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing, if it feels really open and spacious. Or maybe there are some sticky or choppy spots along the way, in which case you might try to lengthen through those parts of the breath so that you can smooth it out a little bit more. Your thoughts might start to wander, and that's fine. And just acknowledge whatever thought you might be having, but then disengage if you can, and bring your focus back to your breath. Last couple moments here. And then slowly start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body. Oh, a little rock of the head from side to side, or maybe one of those really languid sort of full body morning stretches. And then draw your knees in toward your chest and take a little rock from side to side. So already here we are, twisting through the spine. Right? We don't often think of this as a twist, but it is a very gentle one. It's rotation. And in fact, let's take our right arm out to the side, and then as you exhale, lower your knees all the way to the left. Now I'm going to shift my hips a little bit to the right before I go there. I just find it makes it easier to stack the hips without kind of reaching for the twist. Your right arm could be straight, it could be in cactus. It might not make any difference. it might make all the difference in the world. Couple more breaths here. And then slowly, come back to center. Reset the pelvis and spine. Maybe the hip shift left a little bit. And then exhale, lower the knees to the right. Get as gentle or as deep as you need to start today. Your left arm could be extended. You could bend your elbow and take it into a cactus position. It's funny, on the left side, I like having my arm straight, and on the right side, it feels better to have my elbow bent. It just stretches and releases through different parts of my arm and shoulder, which is a really nice reminder to me that we all have different muscular imbalances and tightnesses. So you never have to do the same variation from one side to the other. Never, ever, ever. Last breath here. And then slowly inhale, return to center. Bring your pelvis and spine back into the middle of your mat, and then draw your knees up toward you. Hug the legs toward each other, and let's just use the strength here of the core. I'm going to take my arms out to the side, but bend my elbows, so it's kind of like, I don't know how I would describe this. It's kind of like cactus, but then the forearms are lifted off the ears. And just take a gentle twist from side to side. So the closer the knees are toward your chest, the easier this will be on the core. The further away the knees are, the harder this will be. Keep pressing your elbows into the floor, and that will help stabilize through the upper back, through the shoulder blades. Right? If you start to extend the legs, then it gets even trickier, even harder. You don't have to go fast, you can go slow, but we're just waking up those obliques, internal and external obliques, that help your body twist, help the spine rotate. Last couple breaths here. Okay, come back to center, shake it all out. You might grab the backs of the legs. You can do a couple playful rock and rolls up and down your spine if you want to. Maybe shoulder blades to sit bones. Maybe find that pause and boat. If you want to roll to one side instead and press yourself up, go wherever makes you feel comfortable. And then come to hands and knees. Setting up with knees underneath hips, toes tucked or untucked, hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Fingers spread nice and wide. And then inhale, lift your tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, round through your spine. Really press the floor away. Inhale to dip the belly and round, and exhale to tuck the tailbone and round. I can see it's just different kinds of rounding. So keep moving here through cat and cow, however you need to. Maybe there's some natural movement that you'd like to take. Just go where you need to go. A couple more breaths here. And then slowly come back to center. Take your knees mat width apart now, and then shift your hips back. So we're going to come into a child's pose. For some people, I know this isn't super duper comfortable, so you can go onto your back if you prefer, but we're going to be twisting here. And if your hips are up super high, you can bring a pillow between your bum and your heels. But just take a couple breaths to settle in to your child's pose. Whether the arms are extended or the elbows could be bent, you could even stack your palms or your hands underneath your forehead. Just allow the hips to find a little bit of release here. And if your elbows are bent, come back to the arms extended. Come up onto fingertips on that right hand. Bend the elbow and then thread your left arm underneath and to the right. So a very gentle, twisted child's pose. You might come onto the back of that left shoulder. You could bring a pillow underneath your head, but turn the forehead or turn your head to the right as well. We usually do this in a slightly more active version with the hips high, but sometimes it can be really nice to get this more passive release through the rotation in the spine. Last breath here. Plant your right hand, press into it, come back to center, and then let's switch sides. So plant the left hand, pick up the right arm, and swoop it underneath. Twisting now to the left. You might come on to the back of that right shoulder, or the side of the head. And that left hand could stay active, or you might just let it release. Couple breaths here. And then plant the left hand, inhale, come back up to center, hands and knees, little wiggle or shake. Keep moving and grooving here. If you wish to, you might choose to go into downward facing dog to pedal out the backs of the legs. Whatever you need to do. Sorry, I disappeared for a moment from the camera. Sometimes I feel like my microphone clicks and then I worry that I've paused the video somehow. And in fact, let's all make our way to downward facing dog. Now you could be on your forearms if you wish, if that takes the pressure out of the wrists, or indeed just hands and knees. Little bend in the knees, right? Start to snuggle your belly closer to the upper thighs, and then send your hips back. Okay, back out of that depth a little bit. Take your feet mat width apart. So you're going to have a nice wide base of support here. You know where we're going. We're going to twist here, right? So plant that left hand, pick up the right arm, and twist it underneath the left armpit. Your hand might come to the floor. You might find somewhere along the leg, the ankle, or the foot. And then you can use that to help kind of twist yourself deeper underneath that left armpit. And then release, come back to center, a little wiggle if you wish. Plant that right arm, pick up the left hand, and then twist it underneath the right. Again, anywhere that feels good for you for that left hand. And then really peekaboo underneath that right armpit if you can. And then inhale, back to center. Come back to your normal downward facing dog stance. Bend your knees, look forward, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat. Standing forward fold. Okay, a little buoyancy in the knees here. You could sway a little bit from side to side. You might instead just choose to rest the elbows on the knees or thighs. You could clasp opposite elbows with your hands to get even more release, particularly through the low back. If your arms are clasped, take the opposite crossing. If the hands are clasped, take the opposite interlacing of the fingers. And then release the hands with fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. And then bend your knees, head heavy, arms heavy. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. You can always use your hands on your thighs for more support. And eventually Come all the way up to standing. Whew, loops of the shoulders up, back, and down. Little noodle or wiggle, release, whatever you need. Here. All right. Let's do some more twisting. Why not? Bring your feet together. Big toe mounds touching. Little space between the heels on your inhale. Sit down and back into your chair pose. Now, I know for some of you this is not good, so you can bring the feet hip width apart instead. If you're doing that, knees out. If you're here with me, hug the legs toward each other. So slightly different activations, but you're still going to get the toning. Tailbone down, belly button to spine. Wherever you are, bring your hands in front of you like a grapefruit. Make sure the shoulder blades kind of retract back a little bit. Inhale here. Exhale, open to the right. Now, as soon as we do this, the knees start to shift. So make sure that the left knee stays back in place. The right knee keeps reaching forward. Lift up a little bit more through the torso, and then come back to center. And then exhale to the left and up. We don't often do a high twist in chair pose. We're usually doing like hooking the elbow to the knee as preparation for side crow. Let's do once more each direction. Keep hugging the legs toward each other if they're touching. And come back to center. Shake it out a little bit. And because I mentioned it, let's do the deeper twist. Now you can come back and just do that high twist if you like. Otherwise, sole the feet together. Little space between the heels depending on the shapes of your feet. And then inhale, down and back. Okay, hands to prayer. Find length through your spine. As you exhale, twist to the right. So maybe that left elbow hooks on the outside of the knee. Make sure that left knee isn't sneaking forward. Drop back in line. Tailbone down, heart high. You could press a palm into a fist. You could do palm to palm. You could do fingertips. Maybe you spread your wings. Maybe you're going into side crow if you wish. Hips low, heart high. Ooh, one more breath here. Okay, inhale, unwind. Whew, a little release and forward fold. And then last time, chair pose. Hips down and back. Inhale here to find length. Exhale, twist to the left. Make sure that right knee doesn't sneak forward. Bring it back in line. Elbow into knee. Maybe you're taking a more open twist, and I should have said that on the first side. Any arm variation here that will work for you. Hips low, heart high. Last couple breaths. And then inhale, unwind, heel into the feet, hip width apart, little wiggle or shake, bounce or sway from side to side. And then fingertips to shins. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, let it go. This time as you inhale, lift up partway, pause here. Belly button to spine. Really find that length through the spine, right? We're not rounding through the spine. You're getting that hip hinge, the same as if you're sitting on the floor. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you exhale, twist to the right. You might reach fingertips down. Maybe you have a block that you can bring underneath your hands. Maybe you have one hand on the low back. Maybe hands in prayer. Go where you need to go. Okay, and come back to center. Release it. Shake it out a little bit. And then inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, twist to the left. And any variation with hands or wherever you need to go. Lots and lots of work on those hamstrings. Come back to center. Oh, a little wiggle or sway. Inhale, a little partway lift, just a normal one. Exhale, let it go. Whew. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Yowza. Exhale, hands to prayer. Oh, hello, glutes and hamstrings. I had imagined that this would be a slightly gentler class, but anyway, there you go. Okay, Okay, couple breaths. Breathe. Feel whatever you feel. And then flicker your eyelids open. Depending on your the surface of your floor, you might turn to face the long edge of your mat and then step your feet wide. So as we do this, you want to make sure the feet aren't turned out. You want them parallel or even slightly turned in, particularly if you're going for a very wide stance here. Little bend or micro bend in the knees, belly button to spine. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, hinge at the hips, sit bones go back. Wide leg, forward fold. So depending on your body, maybe you bring a block or two underneath your hands. Maybe your fingertips or palms comfortably reach the floor. Maybe you go grab for the foot or the ankles or walk the hands back behind you. But the whole time, make sure there's a little buoyancy on the knees and that you hug the legs back toward the center line rather than pressing them out. Because pressing them out will really start to put strain on your SI joint. So keep hugging your legs back toward each other. Couple more breaths here. Bring your left hand to the floor underneath your face, right, or directly underneath your shoulder, and then inhale, right arm up and out. The hips will shift as you twist here, that's fine. Exhale, back to center. Inhale the left arm, so nice little windmill pose here. Once more each side. And then back to center, couple breaths just to reset. Bring the hands to the floor underneath your shoulders. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. So just resetting our blood pressure. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Last time. Keep hugging those legs toward each other. And then little bend in the knees, hands to hips. Inhale, come on up to standing. Heel and toe your feet back together. Little hold down as we do this. And then shake it all out. Okay, come back to Tadasana. Maybe you're facing the top edge of your mat. Doesn't really matter. Couple breaths here. And then little micro bend in your knees. Inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale, let's twist to the right. So just a standing twist. You might bring your right hand behind you. Maybe the left hand comes to the outer right hip. You can you draw it even back a little bit. That left hip will want to come forward. Just keep it in line. Maybe the arms are extended. Find length with every inhale, maybe a deeper twist with every exhale. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, twist to the left. I'm probably overcompensating and pushing my left hip forward more even than it needs to go. And hands can go wherever they need to go. That palm on the low back of the sacrum feels like quite a nice support. And then inhale back to center. Shake it all out. Little wiggle and release. I'm going to come back to the top edge of my mat now. Excuse me, frog in my throat. Inhale, reach up to the sky. Exhale, melt to the earth, forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Okay, bend your knees, plant your hands, come back to hands and knees. Little wiggle or shake. You might stay here, moving and grooving through cat and cow. You might rest in child's pose. You might go to downward facing dog. You could take a flow, but take about 5 breaths wherever you need to go. Okay, if you're in downward facing dog, gently bring your knees to the earth. If you're in child's pose, press yourself up to hands and knees, and then shift your hips on one side so that you can swing your legs forward. Okay, so this next little twist that we're going to do is a little bit tricky to get into sometimes, but it can feel so nice. If you have a pillow or blocks or something, it can be really useful to get as much ease as you can. Right shin comes forward, left shin goes out to the side, and I want you to lift up through the spine, even lift that left bum right off the floor, and exhale, twist to the right. Maybe you start to twist back even more. And you could stay up high here, right? Kind of like a mermaid, I don't know, kind of twist. Maybe you come down onto your forearms. Maybe you come all the way down to the floor. You're going to end up kind of really lifting that left thigh up off the floor as you do this. But this can feel sometimes really quite delicious. Maybe you have your forehead on the floor, maybe one cheek to the floor. A couple more breaths here. And then slowly bring your palms underneath you to press yourself back up. Come back to center. Oh, swing that left leg forward, shake out the legs. I don't know about you, but I love this twist because you get that outer hip release as well. It ends up being, or it starts an external rotation, but then you turn the hip, so it ends up being an internal. It's cool. Okay. Right leg out to the side. I don't have to explain why it's good. I just hope that it feels good for you. Right, lift tall. Right bum comes up off the floor. Twist to the left. Right, option to stay up tall. Maybe you start to twist even further to the back. Right, that right thigh is really going to start to lift up off the floor. You might stay up high. You might allow your weight to kind of shift forward on top of that left hip so that you slide toward the floor. This is a great release for your low back as well. Last breath here. And then gently bring your palms to the floor underneath your shoulders. Press yourself back up. Unwind your legs. Oh, shake them out a little bit. And then plant your feet. Maybe tuck your tailbone under and start to round and roll down to the floor. Again, you can always use your hands or your forearms for more support. And then once you're down, hug your knees into your chest. Little rock from side to side. And then plant your feet hip width apart, parallel-ish, close enough into your bum that you can tickle your heels with your fingertips. Just one last thing to help reset the pelvis. Press your heels onto the floor. Inhale, lift the pelvis up and away. Couple breaths here in bridge pose. Doesn't have to be too high. It can if you want. And then on your exhale, slowly lower down to the floor. Pause here for a breath or two. And then hug your knees into your chest. A little rock from side to side. And then take your knees wide toward your shoulders or armpits. This is a really good reset for the spine, right? It's like you're in a squat position, except you're on your back. Maybe you kick your feet to the sky. You grab the backs of the thighs, outside of the legs, the ankles, or the feet for happy baby. You could rock a little bit from side to side. Right? Extend one leg or the other. Go where you need to go. And if there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, posture, meditation, or breath work, feel free to go where you need to go. Otherwise, think about where you would like to rest. Could be flat on your back, legs bent, or straight. You could rest on your side or in a child's pose, seated meditation. And then there's no rush to get there, but once you have found your pose of rest for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath. Couple more. With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And let go of all breath control. Any last muscle gripping or tension. So that you can be here peacefully and softly. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.